大家好，我是小克老师 and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to do something a little bit different. I'm not actually teaching Chinese in this video. I wanted to talk about something that I actually wanted to talk about a while back, but I never actually made a video about it. But I think it's important. It's kind of the elephant in the room when you're talking about learning Chinese and China and Chinese in general, which is Chinese politics. Okay, I don't want to talk about this like in detail. I know there's a lot of channels that go into a lot of detail about issues in China. And yeah, I sometimes watch those channels as well and keep up to date with what's going on. But that's not what I'm doing here. But anyway, I was thinking about this issue because recently a friend of mine was talking about learning Russian. He's thinking about learning Russian. But then he was kind of influenced because of the whole geopolitical situation and what Russia's doing right now, and you know the actual options for studying or traveling to Russia, traveling around Russia, and so he decided that in the end he's not going to put a lot of effort into learning Russian, and it got me thinking about learning Chinese given the political situation and the political differences. And let's face it, like geopolitics and international relations do have an effect on language learning, and the news does affect people's opinions about a country or a system. If a lot of people who speak a particular language live in one place, as is the case with Chinese or Russian. But to be perfectly honest as well, I think China is a very different country to what it was like when I first started learning Chinese back in 2006. So in fact, when I started learning Chinese, there was a bit of a lot of interest in China as well, actually. China had just been awarded the Olympics host city in Beijing. It was before Beijing 2008. And there was this bit of a sense that the whole country was maybe opening up a bit. It's kind of it becoming easier for people to travel there. I mean, sure, there were restrictions, but it wasn't something I really thought about it that much. I was honestly interested in the language. I wanted a new challenge, interested in Chinese characters and so on. I didn't really think about the politics or the whole country at all. In a way, I guess I was quite young, quite naive. And then later, I was exposed to more content actually in Chinese as I started to learn Chinese, such as news and so on, and Chinese TV and radio and what have you. And I also traveled to China and met with Chinese people as well. And I mean, obviously, a lot of issues you would think about them, or you would see them in the news in the UK or in China, and you would start to think about these issues. And at the beginning, I didn't really talk about politics in China. I was very good, you know. When we first went to China, I remember they gave us this training. And this was like a foreign guy who gave us this training. But he said basically, don't talk about the three T's, Tibet, Tiananmen, and Taiwan, right? The three T's. So in the beginning, yeah, I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. Then after a while, I was like, well, I know I can speak some Chinese. I'm meeting a lot of people. Like, why not talk about these things a bit? And then, so, I mean, there's some blatant contradictions that people accept as normal in everyday life, which seem like crazy to you, but to people in China is be quite normal. Like for example, everybody's in China, everybody's taught and it's accepted that Taiwan is a part of China, right? But then I would ask questions like, you know, if Taiwan's just like a normal part of China, like Scotland's a part of England, why is it so inconvenient to go there? Why can't you read these websites in Taiwan? Why can't you just read a newspaper from there or visit their websites? And then people would just struggle kind of to answer these questions and get really worried and super wound up sometimes, and you'd be like, well, this is not something you think about normally. I mean, I'm not saying I did that all the time, talk about these cultural differences or political stuff, but occasionally, right? But a few years later, I just kind of gave up on this, or I just didn't really bother with it anymore. I mean, China is China. It is what it is. People who live there, if you actually study there and live there like I have, or in terms of Chinese people themselves, if you live there, you kind of have to, even if you don't like the political situation, you kind of have to accept it to a certain extent. Even if you don't like it, you just have to kind of grin and bear it, or you just leave the country. But to be honest, there were times when things were happening, China was getting bad press in the news. Obviously, I was thinking about stuff. Things were happening that I didn't like, that sometimes even questioned my decision to study Chinese. But now, obviously, I'm still speaking Chinese. I have a business in China as well. My wife is Chinese, even though we met when she was studying in the UK. So we met in London. But obviously, she's from there. And people even ask me, like friends have asked me, like, why would you even go to China? Like such a terrible place, or such so many restrictions. You can't do this and do that. How can you accept this? So what happened? Like, has Chris like just bowed to China and accepted everything and become like, a sympathizer to the government and like the political system and everything? Not really. It's not really like that. Like, there are still things that I don't like, obviously, about the politics in the country and a lot of things. Mainly but then that's mainly on a national level, mainly about the political system. However, there are also things that I don't like about the government in my country or some policies in my own country. But I still speak English, right? So the thing that changed as I went on is that I learned to kind of separate the politics of a country and the government of a country from the people who speak it and the culture. Obviously, they're connected, and especially in China, where the government kind of like tries to intervene in culture as well. And especially like all the traditional festivals and all of these things, it's really connected, but it's also, you can separate it. Like, you're learning a language to connect with people. It's also more of an intellectual challenge. You could be learning it for work purposes or for personal opportunities, for romance, for whatever, for business. And also, Chinese is a language that's spoken by many people in a lot of different places. Obviously, apart from mainland China, you've got Taiwan, you've got Singapore, Malaysia, Chinese communities in the US, in the UK, a lot of different places. It's not just in China. And I understand that like some people will like hate China or not like the system at all. Or they want to boycott this and boycott that, and then never think about learning Chinese. That's okay. And you have a choice. But my advice to somebody now who's maybe thinking about learning Chinese. So obviously, if you hate China and everything about it, then it's the wrong decision, right? There's no doubt about that. Unless maybe you just have the goal of living in Taiwan, and that's like a very specific goal. But if you're interested in Chinese culture or the language, then I'd say just go for it. Like, if there's some kind of crazy like armed conflict or crazy stuff happens, stuff could change. But for now, I would say, yeah, just go for it. The language is not just spoken in one country. And even if you look at China, then a lot of people, even in the country, probably don't agree with a lot of political stuff, but they still use Chinese in their everyday lives and with their families and kids and so on. Like, and even if you're learning Chinese, there's a lot of Chinese people living all over the world. If you're living in Australia or in the UK or in the US, there's a lot of students, especially in Australia. Actually, you don't have to even live in China, or you can just go there to visit as a tourist for a few weeks. And there'll be obviously a lot of stuff that you can just like not really care about that much, because if you're not living there permanently, it's quite different. And yeah, so that's basically the way I see it. But what about you? Like, I'd be interested in people on this channel. Let's say you're thinking about like learning Chinese. Would international politics or the system in China influence your decision? Would that be like a big factor? And if you are already learning Chinese, do you think about these issues? Have you ever like questioned your decision to learn Chinese? What happened? Like, did you stop, or did you just like find some reasoning like I did? And also, have you ever had like reactions from family and friends about like you're learning Chinese, or like you're traveling to China? Like, why the hell? Stuff like this. So yeah, just leave me a comment and let me know. I'd be really interested to know. And yeah, so I hope you found this video interesting. It's kind of the elephant in the room, as I said. But I think it's something we can talk about. Hopefully, if you're like thinking about this as well, this video might have helped you to clarify your decision, or to have another way of thinking about this. Yeah, so that's it for this video. Yeah, if you're not subscribed to my channel, by the way, just definitely hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and get on my email list as well, because I'm going to be updating more content now. And yeah, I really hope you like this kind of chat discussion video. It's a good way for us to kind of get to know each other and talk about some things that I'm thinking about as well. So thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day. I will see you in the next video.